Women only make up a small percentage of the prison populations across the world, although the overall imprisonment rate of women in Scotland is higher than that in England, Wales, as well as the European average. As a result, prisons have traditionally been designed with men in mind, with the presumption that what works for men will work for women too. However, over the past 25 years, various policy reports and research have found a range of gender-specific needs of criminalised women that are not adequately met by prisons. In particular, the evidence shows women in prison have higher rates of underlying health issues, experiences of victimisation and childhood trauma, problematic drug and alcohol use, as well as lower educational attainment and overall poorer mental health. Also, due to the smaller number of women in prisons, they are typically placed further away from their local communities than men are, which adds to the negative impact imprisonment can have on both themselves as well as their wider families. Many factors have also been found as stronger predictors of reoffending in women than that compared to men. These factors can include complex family relationships, poverty, unemployment or underemployment, drug use, the influence of partners in controlling and abusive relationships, as well as unmet immediate needs relating to housing and childcare. These reports raise concerns about the conditions in prison and the treatment of women by the criminal justice system, especially those on remand. They also raise questions about the use of prison sentences due to their ineffectiveness at reducing reoffending for women and the compounding impact they can have on the inequalities in women's lives long term. These concerns have been expressed across the world as well, including by the UN, which has resulted in calls for distinctive, holistic, gender-responsive approaches for criminalised women. This has included advocating for a move away from using prison as the main form of punishment for non-violent offences, of which the majority of women are imprisoned for. Instead, they recommend the use of either community-based sentences or non-justice related solutions, which could more meaningfully and adequately address the interconnected emotional, social, and physical needs of women. In Scotland, these recommendations have influenced the introduction of a presumption against short-term prison sentences. This is a piece of legislation that requires the courts to not pass a prison sentence if it's 3 months or less, unless it is of the opinion that no community-based alternative would be appropriate. Also, back in 2015, Scotland decided to not build a second prison for women, with the Scottish Government instead opting to invest in the development of what they've called community custodial units that would be run regionally by the Scottish Prison Service. To date, these units are in operation in Scotland, in Dundee and Glasgow. The aim of community custodial units is to provide gender-specific services for women that promote community reintegration during a prison sentence, as well as reduce the distance between imprisoned women and their families. It is important to note, however, that these units are not alternatives to prison, but rather a different form of custody that some of the women in Scotland can be sent to. If you would like to read more about the unique needs of women who are in prison across the UK as well as internationally, and are interested in what the various reports found and recommended, please read the SCCJR resource, Women in Prison.